Hi, BookTube. I'm Peg, the book prize addict. I always want to say maniac, but that's Sean. Okay, I'm the addict. My time to shine has come. The biggest, or my most favorite of most people, prize was announced last night, the long list of the 2020 Booker Prize. I had read, I think it's becoming more popular because I had read all kinds of articles about thought who thought what was going to be on it, and they try to look at the judges and discern what that particular judge might like. It was a lot of fun following it, and there's some nice videos up here on BookTube by Eric Carl Anderson. He knows all of these books, and he gave a great video right before it was announced on what he thought might be, and then he was right there last night afterwards to give a video on the ones that were up. I took a little longer. I spent some time looking through them, deciding what I could get online, what I could get from my library. Now, I was lucky because in the eastern U.S., it came on, they announced it at 1 minute after 7 o'clock p.m. last night, so I didn't have to wait all evening, whereas in London, it was midnight. But I noticed some of the people on GoodReads from London had stayed up and were already commenting on them. So it was an exciting night. I'm back. I have done this method before of reading all 13. They call it the Booker Dozen, which is 13 books, and grading them as I go with my 25-point grading system, which I love to use when I have a lot of books to compare against each other. It's all explained below in the show notes, and my 5 categories that I arrive at 25 points, a possible 25 points. And it's much easier to differentiate between small differences when you've got that many numbers than if you had just 1 to 5. So I've really enjoyed the past doing it this way. You're welcome to try it and let me know if you like that way. But I'm just going to quickly go through the start here and tell you how I'm going to be reading and what I'm going to be reading this week. I figured out there's about 6 weeks until the shortlist is announced, so I believe September 15th. So I should have, if I do 2 books a week, I should be able to do it. So I thought I would go through them, and as I go through them, I'll give you my rating. But I haven't read any of the ones, so just today I was just going to show you what I'm going to be reading this week. Any thoughts on those? The one that everybody thought would be on there, and it was The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. She's won 2 Booker Awards for her first and second of this sequel. And of course, the third one has to be there. We have to give her a chance. Don't know. We'll see. I have to say I haven't read this one. I've read the first one only. And too bad I didn't read the second one. But they say, really, you don't have to have read them. You just need to know something about Henry VIII and Thomas Cromwell, which I learned by reading the first one. And I know this opens up with Jane Boleyn, is that her name? Jane, yeah, with her death, her chopping off of her head. So, I mean, as I said, it's at the first, so that's not giving away. So this may take me a couple weeks to read, but I pick it up at the library tomorrow. Luckily, there weren't many on the waiting list. In fact, I have 8 that I'll be getting from the library, and only one of them had a huge amount, which I'll get to. So I feel pretty lucky that the library, we can't go in the library, but they'll bring it out to your car if you have something that comes on hold. Okay, so that's one I'll be starting this week. Okay, this one I need to tell you a little bit about. Let's go to this picture. The Medusa Body is an African story about an African woman. And I'd seen this, a couple of booktubers did a read-along of it. I can't remember what they thought, but it looks really interesting. It's about a woman and her life there in Africa. And I found out that it's actually the third in a trilogy about the same woman. From what I hear, you don't really have to read them all, but I thought since I have all this time and I don't have a job, I would go ahead and read the first 2. They're not real long. So I just downloaded. The first one is called Nervous Conditions. Can you see that? Not very well, is it? And it was written quite a while ago, I think in the 2010 sometime, and it won quite a few awards as Best African Novel. Nobody seems to have heard of it, but I downloaded it last night, and I thought it was on Scrib, but when I went back to look, it wasn't on Scrib. It's funny, I think Scrib kind of takes books away when they think they might be able to get more buyers. I don't know. Anyway, but the first one though, that one is on Scrib. Okay, anyway, that's the first, Nervous Conditions. I've started it. It's already looking good. She's a young girl at that point. I know she grows up. And the second book is The Book of Not. I'll have to, they're not very much on Kindle. They're not even the $10 ones. They're maybe 5 or 6. So I hopefully get to that too before I read the Mournable Body one. Okay, so I'll be starting on those. I also have already started one that everybody kind of felt sure would be on it. I think Carl Henderson pronounced this Apeirogon. Anyway, by an Irish author, has written some very good ones. Author of Let the Great World Spin, which I think won some sort of award. Anyway, this I had started, and it's about 2 men. It's in Israel, and one is a Jew and one is a Muslim, and both of their daughters, this is told right away at the first, are killed in wartime incidences. And it shows, and then they get to know each other and make friends, and it shows a lot about the temper of the times and how things are. This one, I think I have a category called Setting and Atmosphere of Place. And this is real good about that. And it's hard for me to explain what atmosphere of place is, but this one's going to have a lot on that one, the feelings around Israel. And already I've come to the point where things are blocked off. Jews can't go down some blocks. And anyway, it's good. It's going to take a while, and it's probably the more literary of the books. Okay, another one, Such a Fun Age. Well, I bought the Kindle last night, the Kindle version, because there was 67 people waiting for like 3 or 4 copies at my library. I have no idea, if it's going to be a book club book or what, but it certainly looks good. I started it. I always go ahead and start things when I get them. Such a Fun Age. I think I'm going to have a lot to learn about different people and the ways they live. It opens up a scene, which is not a spoiler because it tells about it in the introduction, of a young black woman who is a kind of a babysitter for a white couple, and it's really funny that how she gets there, but she has to take him to an upscale grocery store one evening to get him out of the house, and she's kind of dressed up. She'd been at a party, and anyway, she gets arrested or almost arrested. They think she's kidnapped the kid, and really made me realize this is going to give me a lot of feelings in realizing how things feel to other people. But as I said, it's funny too. It's really funny, and the interaction with her and her girlfriend. So I'm going to really enjoy that. Now there's one book that I actually had. It was on the long list for the Desmond Elliott Award this year, and that is for new debuts that are different or whatever. Incidentally, I have to say there are 8 debuts on the Booker list, which is really unusual, but it'll be interesting to read some new people. Okay, this one's called Love and Other Thought Experiments. It's kind of, I think, connected short stories. You can't have actual short stories for the Booker, but if they're connected some way. And I read the first story or whatever, and it was really, again, one that's serious and heartfelt, but often also funny. It's about a lesbian couple, and they're trying to decide whether to have a child or not. And it's just, as I said, disastrous in some ways and really funny. I'm really beginning to enjoy that when they have, I guess, what you call black humor, when they put funny things into what would otherwise be a kind of a downer book. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. So that's what I'm going to be reading this week. Hope to be back next week with my numbers for these different ones. And to start off, I hope to get them all 13 read. So let me know if you're reading along. I'd love to have somebody join me in my rating plan. Okay, bye.